Afternoon, welcome to our Wednesday wind down. Here we are, Singapore, Gold Coast and Sydney. It's kind of fun to have a cross. We're going to just show you we're in Singapore, a little quick look at the foyer. You're coming with me, Mel, because we're on the same laptop. So today's topic is looking at successful fitness business, women's fitness businesses in wellness space. And here we are in Singapore. Here's a little bit of an insight. It's kind of final day, typically heading home. This is kind of the networking lounge. I'll just do a little bit of a Can you see the? And then the main bit is there's sessions on right now, but there's a bit of an insight of Singapore. And yeah, you probably can't see out there.
So that's kind of the VIP meeting area that's attached to. There's 3 stages going. So there's franchise stages, general stage, leadership stage. So it's all going. There's thousands of people out there.
Yeah, it's been a really fun FitSummit event. So Leah, we're just going to bring Tanya in, and we thought we're talking. I'm just going to let Tanya in. We're talking wellness, and we're excited to have Megan here because she's been too hectic with all the business to join us until now. So given your company's WellCorp, I reckon it's a good start for you to kick off on our topic today, Megan. What do you reckon?
Awesome. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for having me. Mel, so nice to see you over there. And I actually just got out of the car where I was listening to one of my favorite audibles at the moment called Wealth Can't Wait. And he quotes Jim Rohn, who is Tony Robbins' mentor. And he says, you are the sum of the 5 people that you hang around with, and proximity is power. And here we are, we're in an amazing group of women, some over in Singapore, over in Australia, and it's amazing to have everybody here. So thank you so much, Eddie, for putting this together, and I'm so happy to be here. Could not be more excited about this topic. It really has transformed my business in the last 5 years. I went from running a fitness app to now having 4 gyms across Australia, 1 in New Zealand, and it is because we have branched off into different areas of wellness. I actually just applied for a TEDx talk at Queensland University, and it's all about how fitness professionals, I believe, are going to start to become wellness professionals, all encompassed. They're not just going to know fitness, they're going to know other aspects of mental health, communication, and some things that you're going to talk about, Eddie, when it comes to incorporating meditation, breath work, and the different tools to help us with stress, anxiety, and to actually get people motivated to get going, rather than just getting the clients that are already into fitness, they're already doing the yoga classes, the Pilates classes. How do we get people motivated to take that first step? So super excited to be talking about this topic, and glad that you guys were able to join us over in Singapore. Let's get started. Where do you want to start? Because the list goes on.
I think that's a really interesting point that you make around, I think the wellness space has existed for a while. Like, I think everyone on this call has been doing it for a little while. It's not so much, we might be preaching to the converted, and people who would join and listen to this will already be the converted. But it's interesting, even in government strategy. I know working in local government, there was a lot of conversation around the fact that they keep running programs in government even that are attracting the people that are already active. So all the programs to get people active are attracting people that are already exercising. We're not actually bringing in the ones that aren't. And so I think there's certainly a piece around what you're saying, Megan, in that space around how do we engage them, and maybe it's going to be the different entry points where we bring people in with the meditation, with the breath work, and that's the start point, and then they join the Pilates, and they join their yoga, then they join the fitness after that, versus the other way around in the past. Perhaps I think there might be, and there's certainly been a topic on this week, I've found the last couple of days, around the messaging, and some of the large chains talking about the fact they've gone. And so obviously we're at a fitness event, so although there is Pilates here, but the messaging for some of these big brands, they've actually, the CEOs, the leaders of these groups are saying they've changed their messaging from being around the body and about the look. And of course that's still a driver, but they're changing it to be like about how you feel. And so this mental health message is coming across in terms of marketing, and not just for the small guys, but for these bigger chains, which as we know, they're ones who've got the big marketing spend that are getting out to the consumers that help all of us smaller guys. So I just thought that was quite interesting in terms of the branding shift.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the biggest trends on Instagram right now is hashtag mental fitness. So it's no longer just about, you know, the fitness side. The mental fitness game has really come into being one of the most popular hashtags in the US and Canada. And I know that it's going to be a huge topic at CamFit Pro. I was just talking to Mo Hagan earlier this week, and that's going to be pretty much one of the driving forces at the large fitness conference over in Canada as well. So I think we're right on topic. This is where we're headed as fitness professionals, and would love to, yeah, dive deep into how we can help people get into these different branches and incorporate them into their own business.
Yeah, absolutely. And interestingly, you know, just the wellness topic also coming up more in sport tech and mental health. And, you know, you've got plenty of women, female athletes kind of speaking up, and whether it be, when we talk about wellness as well, even the recognition as women on the different stages of, you know, of menstrual cycles being considered in programming, you know, and we were talking to Tracy last night about menopause and all of these topics that I know even when I had fit women, and, you know, at that point I was 21, so I knew very little about menopause, but I do remember women at that point going, no one knows anything about menopause. I'm going to my GP, I'm going to my naturopath, no one knows anything. And now this stuff's kind of just mainstream conversation, which should have been a long time ago, but it's kind of cool. I'm going to shut up.
I'm just going to say, like, because in my world, in the Pilates world, most of our, well, let's not say most, but a big proportion of our marketplace is run by women running organisations and running small to medium to large Pilates training organisations, studios, that's everything. And I'm looking at you, Tanya Cates. Hello and welcome. Thanks for coming along.
Hey, Tanya.
Hi,
How to introduce yourself?
Hi, Tan.
But
Hey,
look,
how you doing?
we are a marketplace of women trying to push well-being and, you know, always mental health, but women's health, the whole thing, and have been for a long time. But I think what you said, Eddie, about now the bigger organisations, the chains are all, their messaging is really going to help us. Like, we have been predominantly small organisations trying to get these messages out, and we really need the bigger organisations. And may I say that AusActive is really focused on the health focus for our exercise and activity industry, as opposed to just bodies and fitness, where the whole messaging is changing, and it's helping us immeasurably from every level, on every scale. And that's really exciting for me, because I think we need all that messaging going forward to support us all.
Yeah, absolutely agreed.
It's interesting. I just, on 2 points, just from what you've said about how do you get those people that are not already interested. It's yes, how do you feed to those people and just meet, like, the aspect and the methods of meeting them where they're at, to then encourage that next step to go further with exercise is such a interesting yet tricky dichotomy, because you're right, we play to the people that are already thinking that way, so that behavior change step has to almost rewind way back to be about the good feelings, the sense of belonging, the fun, I just recorded a podcast today actually with a group that she's changed her branding to therapy fitness, and it is very much about that changing what the environment feels like, it's just all very interesting concepts, but it is very much in this mode of thinking. So
I think the pandemic helped us with that too. Like, a pandemic has thrown everybody into,
totally, yeah,
how do I feel better? How do I socialize while I work out? How do I bring all these things together to have a better lifestyle and a better outcome? Yeah, and fun and joy. Yeah.
I can't hear. Is someone playing? There's something very loud in the background.
It might be in the meeting
conference
room over in Singapore. It sounds like someone's talking in the background.
Oh, it might be these guys.
Strength training.
Yeah.
Well, I'll mute between.
it's all good.
Yeah, it is those guys.
I didn't hear a word of the last, Sally. I heard one word, but not lot of what you were saying. It was quite loud. But yes, this is true, what everyone's saying. I mean, I can't believe
Jill, the quick recap was really like the focus now has shifted with larger chains, larger organisations, which is filtrating down into even smaller and boutique levels, which really helps us. I think we've needed to get to that point, but I'm also really excited about the focus that AusActive is taking as our kind of force to industry and to government, with a focus on health And
Someone had to.
we've been waiting for it, and I'm like, that's
40 years I've been doing this, and 40 years, and it's just insane to think that it's taken this long. 40 years I've been talking wellness has got to be part of fitness. And
yeah, well, and honestly, and the next thing I said, if you got that word, was that the pandemic really helped us with that too. So you know, like, it's really just rolled people into wanting to get the good deals.
Awakened everyone.
Yeah.
And we're not there yet. You know, it's like when we talk about health, and you know, there's a whole piece around that, as we know, around the accreditation piece, and for us to be considered in that space of health and medical is going to require the accreditation that a lot of the industry were kind of going, we don't want that. With it comes all of that. So you know, it's a big piece. It's a big piece, but it's an exciting piece.
Yeah.
No, it's good. And alternatives, one of the things that would be wonderful if it also happened, because that's what I'm trying to advocate for as well, is the fact that the government decided to remove anything to do with alternative health. And due to that, when it comes to people wanting to be the health fund situation, so is anyone aware of that there are no alternative health you can access or get if you want to go to homeopath or naturopath or other health alternative? They won't, they used to give them money, but now they don't for people in health funds. So people are dropping out of health funds. So they're looking for other alternatives. And this is a big part of the whole fitness and wellness umbrella, is also looking not just what you do with your body, what you do with your mind, which is what you're talking about, the actual mental health, but also what you put into it. And looking for those foods and all of those things that are also organic and healthful and all of that. So there's this big side now, which also happened during the pandemic, where people just decided they don't want the hormones that are put into things. And of course, the menopause situation has made that come with all the menopause awareness. That awareness has come to the fore now as well. So all of it, and I'd say, yes, the big shuffle and the big turnaround has come in the last 2 years. So it's really wonderful to see. And I also would like to find out more about, personally, Megan, you're talking about you've got so many gyms somewhere that you're running Mind Body. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need to look you up because I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, that's okay. I'd love to just extend on what you were saying too, and what Tanya was saying, just with my in particular vertical. I'm very niche, so I do corporate wellness. And it's interesting playing in the corporate wellness game, because I get to see clients that are at that point where they really aren't thinking about making a move to fitness. And it's that Eddie knows them well after sitting in with lots of sessions.
Well, not just corporate wellness, Megan. Construction industry is your client, isn't it?
Yeah,
so that's a tough.
Yeah, let's get into that. So my main clients are the large.
Great group, but yeah, it's to me that's a very tough market in terms of. Certainly having, I'll just give my 2 bobs and hand to you, Megan, just because I want to frame that, because I think you need credit around the fact that that's not an easy market. Certainly with that one, meditation, mindfulness, speaking to a lot of the mines and construction groups I've spoken to, yes, there's some that are on board, but and having met some of your cohort who are amazing, it's you know, they're very much on the point of, as some of the mining HR departments have said to me, we're just trying to get them to start eating sort of, you know, meat, 3 veg, and stop drinking a case of beer. And that's huge generalization, but that is a quote from, you know, so this is a cohort that I think it's like you can make big change. And I'll shut up.
Yeah, no, beautiful. Love that. And I think this is great for anybody that's listening to in the fitness industry, because it's such an untapped market and it's really starting to grow and expand. I mean, in WA, they've implemented that an employee can now sue an employer for mental health, and that's looking to expand Australia wide. So corporates are now looking at how can I protect myself. And Victoria too now. Perfect. Great. I haven't opened the gym there yet. That's next. I'll see you soon, Mel, because there's going to be a ton of corporates over there that are going to say, I want to make sure that my staff are looked after. The niche that I'm in, to expand on a bit what Eddie was saying, is steel workers, the largest steel company in Australia and New Zealand, and most recently the largest aluminum company, or aluminium, sorry, Canadian accent, aluminium, I'm saying it right now. So with that comes that age group that's the highest suicide demographic in Australia, from blue collar workers, male, age 25 to 45. And these are the guys that are living paycheck to paycheck. They are not thinking about themselves at all. They give everything, every bit of themselves to their family. And, you know, they don't look at the long term. So, you know, we're coming in and kind of explaining, we're being the dark horse, letting them know, look, this is what happens if you don't look after you. You can't look after those that you love, or whatever they're deep down. Going back to what you were saying, Tanya, about finding, you know, that why for each individual. We actually have to take each person through and find their why, find what will motivate them to take that first step. And, you know, with background in kinesiology, my mother being a psychologist, I've been a professional athlete and I always wanted to be a psychologist. My mom said I talk too much. Fair enough. So now I'm here and I'm coaching, and I just absolutely love it. I left site in Sydney. I was just over at our gym in Smithfield over there, and the guys were like, wow, you're doing really well. You'll be wanting to retire soon. I said, this is what I love to do. Like, I'm finally in an area of fitness that I just absolutely love. We get to talk about what motivates you. We get to talk about your nutrition, how to use breath work to decrease stress and anxiety. It's lighting me up inside and out. So those that are listening, I highly recommend looking at what's out there, because this is going to be a huge blue ocean of opportunity coming up. Corporates are now, you know, opening up to, oh, well, we just have a emergency hotline for the guys that if they feel suicidal, they can call, but that's no longer meeting the government standards. We need more. We need to, you know, give these guys more, even if they're working, you know, 3 days at the office and 2 days from home. It's actually creating more mental health issues because they're working from home. They're not getting that community at work. So we're having to navigate all these different things coming out of COVID, which is really interesting. Sorry, Eddie.
No, it's all right. It's kind of loud here, so I'm conscious of that. I just wanted to say, well, because a lot of the topics, obviously, it's not hugely new, but it's a lot about the, you know, big box gyms bringing in these funnels of wellness. And when we talk about successful business and wellness, it's the opportunity of creating different income streams in each of these funnels. And will it be that you offer, or will it be that you offer certain points? But it's kind of, you know, is it about bringing psychs into your space? Is it about offering you know, coaching one-on-one in your space? Is it about bringing in breath work and meditation into your space? Is it about having wellness relaxation chairs in your, you know, and I think all of the potentials are there and possibilities are there, and that's kind of a business strategy and decision. And it's kind of also that question of there's a risk of trying to be everything to everyone with this, in that it's sort of opened up, and now people see the gym as being the go-to for mental health as well as physical health, which is exciting. But there's also this piece of how far are we going to go? And that's been an interesting conversation for me here as well, with that one, and being in the BR with meditation, mindfulness, mind training, emotional regulation. You know, some of the big boxes are like, that's too far from where we're at. And so I think that's been an interesting conversation, and others are like, this is where we're at, we're going into recovery. But I think there's definitely, from a strategic point of view, for business success, which is what we're talking about, it's like, what is your brand, what is your success?
What's the wheelhouse?
Yeah, and what's the formula that's going to work for you? And I don't think it's the same for everyone. No, you haven't said much.
I think one of the issues that we have, though, is we know what needs to be done, but we're doing it with the people who are already under the roof in our clubs, and we're not expressing the message on our social media platforms and through articles on the internet to the consumers.
Member at the club, so therefore there's a whole demographic of people out there that aren't even aware that we do what Megan's doing, and you know, there could be another industry that might not know about what you're doing that could benefit from it. So I think we're too busy looking after everybody under our roof, and we need to be expressing our message and the benefit of what we're doing outside of our industry. Yeah, we're just not doing enough of it. I mean, and I know that everybody says, you know, we look after our members, but our members are the people who aren't members. And until we're out there telling them what we can be doing for them, because a lot of people are still they think of gyms in a lay manner, you know, the dumbbell down the back, there's no massage. They don't know about massage chairs and oxygen chairs and infrared saunas. They don't know about the VR stuff. They don't know about any of this. their mental thought process is that we are still that gym that they know from the 1970, 1980. So we as an industry actually need to pull together more and to go outside and educate everyone, not just those under the roof.
No, I
It's an
love that.
interesting, yeah, it's an interesting thing. It reminds me a little bit of when we tried to roll out like an active script kind of concepts and go to GPs and get them to prescribe exercise over a medication. Like it's accessing those people that are not aware that they need it and don't know how good it can be. How do we get that? Like it's there's going to have to be some really good cut through engagement style strategies. I don't have the answer to what they are yet, but there are key elements you can tap into that trigger engagement more so than just participation, that to get a longer term budget cutting, government recognition, wow, this has got longevity kind of feel. I don't have the answers yet. I'll keep thinking. I don't know. I actually am not even sure how I ended up on this call, but I'm really pleased that I have.
We're glad you're here.
Accidental genius.
Do you want to put a bit more context to your business?
I have a business called Fit Advisor, but I primarily, Mel knows me from Ballarat. I came through as a 14-year-old aerobics instructor, and here I am 30 odd years later. So my business is about advising. My PhD area is engagement in physical activity. So part psychology, part applied science, but I know Sally because I'm an avid Pilates instructor and educator as well. So yeah, and anatomy physiology EP is my background.
And Tanya, let's just open that up a little bit bigger. It's not just from Ballarat. It's not like that. So Tanya is actually one of my mentors when I entered the industry. She's actually the reason that I still teach freestyle step today.
There you go. I was just talking about lycra and leg warmers today, Mel, so I'll get back to you on that one. Watch out for my podcast.
We're never far from lycra and leg warmers.
I haven't
Listen, like,
have I?
You didn't on stage last night.
No, you didn't. I didn't. Yeah. So YMCA looked a little bit like the first step class that I had to fill in for you when you went there one week.
That's right. That's exactly how it happens. That's how I started at 14.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that would be illegal now, but anyway. That's okay. Go way back.
If not, like, clearly Tanya is a really great living example of women in business and in the fitness industry, and like I have known you through like the later of that journey, going into Pilates and then doing your PhD and going through that. So like living, breathing example of our topic tonight. Who's probably another, like, I think, you know, if we're coming back to that women in fit businesses, who's standout women that we respect and work with and use? You know, there's so many amazing women out there that are doing these things we're talking about for our clients, like, but outside of clients, who's building these businesses? You know, Mike, horse licensees, for an example, National Pilates Training, Katrina Edwards, has just powered with bringing accredited training to the marketplace in Victoria. The girls over in Perth are another course licensee who have built the RTO. Like, they've built really small businesses into big, thriving, accredited training businesses for a marketplace. With quality. And so, you know, if I think about women in business really having to work hard, these small businesses that kind of grow to where they're small to medium, the Pilates industry is filled with them, but that's two examples for me. I'm sure we could all go around and like nominate.
Yeah, I also have huge respect for some of the women I went up and did events and workshops up in Cooktown and Bar Regional and working. They were in community centres in government, but in regional areas, no support, with family structures and drugs and alcohol problems that they were having to overcome to get people to participate. And to me, that was inspirational women, where they are literally isolated and holding the whole ship, you know, holding the whole thing together to try and bring. And it's almost like the fitness centres become the community hub. Huge responsibility, you know, huge challenges, and to me, a lot tougher than, you know, setting up my Fit Women in the middle of Sydney with population all around. And, you know, you pop up a centre, you pop another centre, and it's all good. They all walk through the door. But
Yeah, Megan can probably attest to too with the corporate health. Like my first corporate health contract was with a power company back in Ballarat when I was 17. So probably again still illegal. But aside from that, like I think it's really changed from this is a token thing we put on our remit to make it look as though we're doing something to now we actually have to do something. So I think that's a message that really needs to, it's not just sending an instructor in to run a once a week class to offer something to look like we have. It's
Yes.
we're in deep trouble if we don't look after these people. I'm so disappointed. I'm going to have to run. I want to hear more, but I'm so glad I accidentally got on this call. I'm not sure how that
Joined us.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you.
Join
for
us
joining
again.
Nice to see you, Tanya.
I want
Yes,
to look
okay.
out more about everybody and what you're doing, but I'll see you again. I hope. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank
I've got to
you.
run an online class, so I'll talk to you soon.
Go do that.
Have
Love
fun.
it.
Bye.
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 I've got
Love,
one.
love the multitasking. Love the multitasking. It's like I've got to go run an online class in 2 minutes. It's like talking to you.
That's a woman. That's a woman in the fitness businesses. Like that's what we do, right?
That's it. It's just like from
You,
one.
like you, Eddie, like 1,000 things on your agenda today.
Oh, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Off to Paris tonight. Sports tech event. So that'll be interesting. I want to see what's going on in Europe. That's what I'm interested in as well. To see, you know, is it same around the world? That's it out because I haven't travelled for over 10 years. So I think that's going to be interesting. It'll probably be the same, but you never know. I don't know.
And you'll
Well,
find
you could ask Mel.
different in France to when because there's a lot of riots going on. So watch out.
Oh, in Paris. Oh, great. Another little element.
It's all right. She's hanging out at the Australian Embassy, so she might have some bodyguards. It's
protection.
okay.
Yeah, give it a shot.
But it will be interesting, Eddie. Like maybe our next Wednesday webinar could be a little more on the tech side of things and what you're bringing. So, you know, what you find in Europe, what you've done here. Like I'd be really interested in hearing more about that side of it.
Yeah, and I think we can all contribute with that in the events. So especially this, it's been a big topic at this event that, you know, so you've been at and Mel's been at and certainly I'm very interested to see, you know, the Paris event is, yes, it's sports tech, but there's another section that isn't sports tech, it's all tech.
You are going to an event.
Yeah, it's in lead up to the Olympics. It's specifically sports tech in lead up to the Olympics and Rugby World Cup. And then I'm going to the Institute of Sport in Italy for our European training centre that they're fitting out in preparation for the Olympics. So it'll be really interesting to see, and that's why I'm going, because everyone in lead up to the Olympics, they're trying to get the edge on the athletes. So I'm really keen to see what there is, both in sports specific, but also there's also health tech, med tech. And I went to a health tech event, med tech event last week. So I'm getting a good perspective, and yeah, I think that would be a really fun, interesting topic, and also from a business point of view and systems and just different data. I mean, data is a huge piece that we could talk about for hours, I think, in terms of how that strategy is going to work for people in business, and you know, what strategy do you have for data? You know, certainly when I had Fit Women gyms for 18 years, there was no data strategy other than, oh, we're going to get an online booking system. How exciting, you know? Whereas now it's like the expectation of consumers is you need to, you know, I want you to be able to personalize my data, give me something back, and this whole expectation that we're talking about in the event yesterday around, which isn't new actually, but around the future of fitness centers, you know, delivering that personalized data that you then take to the doctor rather than the other way, rather than clients coming across from the doctor with the document saying, here's my data, can you help me?
Yeah.
You know, the potential of it becoming, then we become valuable to the medical profession, you know, and it's like, so what data, you can't provide all of it, you know, what data do you provide for you? And there has to be a strategy around that.
The conversation,
huge.
conversation that people are talking about a lot now is, you know, the last couple of years it's always been about tech and fitness, and now it's about tech and health, which is really, really interesting. So it's more about that now than as opposed to, you know, a bit of tech and
it's kind of interesting because at the MedTech event, there was a lot of talk about ethics and approvals and recommendations and what that means in the tech space, and AI and what that means and what the restrictions are going to be. But what I was saying to someone yesterday is the interesting part about fitness industry is we're flying under the radar at the moment. And I do wonder if that's going to become something that we're going to have to consider in the future. It's like if we're providing recommendations with AI solutions and things in fitness, it becomes, that becomes something, TGA approval and things like that. And are we going to if the more we step into this medical space, the potential of opening a can of worms on.
I think that's a very, very real topic
which
that we need to consider.
hasn't been brought up at this event actually, and I probably it's only come to my awareness because I just came from a medtech event where that's all they were talking about, and here we're going, oh, we've got AR, we're going to do this, we're going to do this with data, we're going to deliver that to the doctors, and I'm sitting there thinking, the doctors are all talking about what does this mean and how are we going to get around ethics, approvals and stuff. So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how much we are able to do and whether that's going to become another, hopefully not a restriction, but let's fly under the radar where we can.
Because I think there will be restrictions when all that comes in, like there has to be. And I think a couple of people I work with in the US for a while now, for the last few years, have been far more focused on like preventing and liability problems that they're facing with that. And I think we haven't really started to get all that under our belts yet. I can be, we're only probably a decade since we all, well, I don't know, in the Pilates industry, we had cards in a box, it's only a decade ago really that we've gone from cards in a box on clients to all these kind of booking systems and things, but it's going to be a quick run into the next level of, I think, how we are restricted in different ways. I think it's going to happen. Sorry,
and much noise. It becomes quite strategic as well. And it's like when you buy equipment now, like everything's got data. And then it's going to be a question of like, does it all talk to one another? Which data do we want? We don't want the same. Is it going to correlate? Is it going to be conflicting data? So it becomes quite influential even in the equipment you buy now, or it's going to. So it's kind of almost going to be, I think, one of the main drivers in making business decisions to an extent. Like it's just going to have to be very clear strategy on it. So yeah. I think it's an interesting space.
I couldn't agree more. And interestingly enough, right now we're doing, I think it's our 5th year review, and each year our companies have asked for different data and verticals that they look at. So one year they'll be interested in decrease in blood pressure and heart rate. One year they're interested in girth measurements and weight. And it's as we're going through, we're actually really learning to narrow down what people in general, because we take such large bodies of people in the corporate industry, what they're looking for and what feedback is assisting them in knowing that they're moving forward, which it's different for everyone, but we're narrowing it down to like 10 indicators that we can find and then give to people. And I agree that it's going to move into, we're actually providing that to the GP.
So you're finding the steel company has changed their requirements in the...
They're changing what they want us to look at each year and report on. We're always reporting on big data, and then each year they're kind of like, oh, can we see this? Oh, can we see that? And now we're really narrowed in and know what people are looking for, and we're going, this is what you want to see. You want to see blood pressure, heart rate, but and the main key indicators.
So has that changed from body girth to more, like as we're talking health, like blood pressure, and when you just mentioned those two, is that the main shift from physiology? Well, it's all physiology, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just becoming more accurate and utilizing pulse oximeters, for example, and just using tech that we didn't normally use as a fitness professional. So we're just getting deeper into the health space, I feel, just naturally progressing into it.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
Jill, did you want to add anything?
I just think the whole thing is fascinating. That's insane that I just feel like and it's so good to see that it's actually happening. And I'm so excited about the fact that there's so many women and so many gyms that are starting up actually realizing this. I was very lucky though that I worked in Blackmores and I was their gym manager, which a lot of companies never even had gyms. They do now, but I started there and I was living in France. I came back from France and I started there, and it was incredible talking data. Yes, we had the little box of cards, and that's this century now. That's only gone, I'd say, you mentioned a decade, because we still have the little box of cards and all the data. Now I'm wondering, and when we talked about that last time too, what on earth has happened, because some of those people are still my clients and I knew so many intimate details about them, which was all on a card and in a box. We did talk about this last month too, the fact that where we're going to go with this. So we are definitely going to have to be pushed along on that level. Yes, we must have it in all industries, I believe. I've also worked in corporate as well, in the wellness industry in corporate. It's got to be across the board. So somehow, and AusActive are really pushing that, as I see, and congratulations to them, that we all continue and gather together and get as much information, and actually in fact to the point that with AusActive to promote this totally with them and be supportive with them and find all the people who actually want to be part of this. And I'm sure there's hundreds and hundreds out there. There still is that mentality, which you've mentioned before, of the people who just think, well, that's it, you're in a gym and that's it, and there's the weights and all of that sort of stuff. But I believe there's so many more now that really want the alternative. So
it's interesting when you talk about that, Jill, as well, because I do think about when, you know, I've done breathwork training and different trainings and in this wellness, you know, sound healing, breathwork, they're not regulated at all.
oh no, I do sound healing as part of my yoga intro. I now just my course is actually
yeah, but I'm just saying it's interesting because we're talking about wellness and it's opening up all these different avenues, and I've got qualification, I've got diplomas in both sound healing and breathwork theoretically. I've been in a room with people who've got no background in physical fitness, teaching stuff, that without that foundation, I just personally think the risk is higher. So then I wonder, you know, we're expanding all of this offering, that's great, but I've also been in courses with very young participants with no history of working with people and bodies, and not trying to say that there's superiority there, but there is a little concern on lack of experience that can come in and do this. And as we bring people in, then there becomes this other thing again. Is there a liability around that? And it's exciting to bring all of it in. And then, you know, it's a bit like this whole piece when yoga and Pilates came in, where we went, oh, well, the qualifications, it's not regulated. But then you go, yeah, but you're getting people that wouldn't be doing anything anyway. It's a different market. So there's that fine line. But I do, you know, as we sit here saying we want to go into health space and we want all, isn't it great? We've got all these wellness offerings and we bring people in. And as I kind of, even when I just did my retreat and I'm like, I want to bring someone else in to help with their breath work. And, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, but, you know, there was this piece on, I know that they've only learned breath work 6 months ago. There's no ground other than that. So it's going to be my, you know, my risk, which is no disrespect to those people. But it's another whole piece of now we're bringing in another qualification.
That's incredible. So where did you, I'd love to know this because I want to pass this on to someone else. What was your diploma in sound bowl healing? Because I know she doesn't have a diploma.
The British Academy of Sound, and I'm not a fan of them, to be honest, but I've still got the qualification.
I brought a woman in sound bowl healer, but she's done a little bit in Thailand and a little bit in Bali and a little bit here.
Yeah, I didn't really, I don't want to plug them because I didn't like their values. I didn't like it, and this is my point. It's like I've got a diploma. What's it? You know, what's that mean?
So anyway,
Sorry?
she's got a huge business and she travels the world. So,
and she doesn't have a diploma. There you go. That's my point. Like there's no, you know, I've got a bit of the science behind it, but there's, you know, I mean, sound healing less risky to me. Breath work can trigger trauma a lot. I mean, so can sound healing to an extent, but you know, there's not a huge awareness even in the certainly breath work and stuff. They're using drumming, they're using stuff. There's not a lot of discussion around the drumming can trigger trauma. This is, you know, what do you do if that happens? So there's a whole scope of where this heads, where yes, you could be fine, 90% of the population will come to a group exercise class or a group breathwork or a group whatever, sound healing, possibly won't have that. But are we actually doing the assessment process? Are we asking the questions now that we go into this mental health space around trauma? Have you ever had any trauma? Have you had sexual abuse? We don't have those on a standard gym pool.
Yeah.
But if you start having breath work sessions, sound healing sessions, drumming, and you've got someone who's had sexual abuse, and I know because I've worked in this space for a little bit now, and had psychs in my retreats for that reason, they can be triggered quite easily. And what, you know, yeah, it's like there's just another risk here that exists. So
getting is scary then. Everybody's in the past has all gone, oh, it's so woo-woo, you're just those woo-woo people, you know, the woo-woo people. And so nobody's made any idea of putting it as a qualification, making a diploma. No one's gone there yet. This is another side now, very interesting, that's just come out, is actually doing the qualifications that actually go with all this.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Qualifications and scope of practice, like really we have to start really drumming down on scope of practice as an an industry, because however you accrue your training, your qualifications, your experience, like how does that translate to your scope of practice that would withstand liability? And that's what's going to come down to, like, how can you provide or evidence or substantiate your scope of practice in exercise or in areas where there isn't formal training or there isn't accredited training, or should there be accredited training? Like, should we drum down on all those things? But as we get closer to health, recommendations to medical and allied health, we have to step up to where our scope of practice matches what we're trying to provide as an outcome.
Send off, and I mentioned my yoga nidra, which also includes a lot of different things, and the breath work to AusActive. So I'll be interested to see, even though I've gone through what are codes of practice and all of that sort of thing, be interesting to see the response I get, because I want this recognized as a course to be for other trainers, because I know that in 10 minutes of yoga nidra you can change people's
Yoga nidra is breathwork regulation, though. It's emotional regulation, versus what I'm talking about, Jill, is around superventilation, which is a lot of what's cool, what people are liking, and it's kind of the new fad.
Yeah.
We are going to wrap in a minute. I'll tell you why, because the closing address is Mel's just done a sidestep. The closing address is on in 3 minutes for the event.
Oh, okay.
And it's only a 15-minute closing, and it's been an amazing event, so we kind of want to respect the FitSummit. FitSummit's coming to Australia in November, guys, so it's been a fantastic event, amazing atmosphere, great connecting with people from all around the world, and just they do events well. It's really good event.
And he's looking for presenters at the moment for his event later this year, you mentioned. So there you go. If anybody wants to get involved, now's the time, and sign up to present, get involved. Love it.
Yeah.
Can I just mention 2 quick things that came up during this quality? Firstly, when Tanya and Mel were talking, mentorship and even, helping solve the issue of, can I step into this space? Coaches that you hire, it's become almost a faux pas for businesses or business owners to hire a business coach or a life coach. Really recommend doing it. If you meet any successful woman or man in the fitness industry, we've been blessed with great mentors. So I think that's just a great example of, look where Mel is. Look at her mentor jumping on the call. We all have them. Get yourself a coach. Don't think of it as a weakness, because it is a strength. And it's something that's really, really important out there. And it can help solve some of the issues when it comes to, are you ready to step into this space? Because if you have a great coach or mentor in that space, that's the key ingredient. And the other one, how to find new clients in different industries, and just talking on what Mel was, discussing. We're really good at looking after our own babies and everyone who's in it. A great suggestion that I've been starting to implement this year is I go to conferences outside of fitness conferences. So I've been going to a large aluminium and steel conference. It's all about their stuff, but I'm going there and I'm just meeting the people. I'm getting in their proximity and I'm talking about what we do, and they have no idea what we do. Right? Because they're not seeing what we see on a daily basis, and they're not in the game with us. So go to different conferences, get out there, and really put yourself into new branches, because those are the people that need it the most. So those were the 2 things, just giving you tips on how to help navigate those 2 areas. Thank you. It.
That's great.
Really good.
Great tips to finish with. Does anyone else want to add? Sorry to be cutting it a little short. I didn't realize that it was finishing.
I'm doing a Zoom session. I'm teaching.
Oh, perfect.
Awesome.
It was so nice. This first call we've all been on. So great to see you guys. We'll go tech next month, and not just sports. Like, everyone can do a bit of research on the tech space and where we're at, or share our stories on that stuff.
Sounds perfect.
What
amazing.
And
what's working, what isn't, and whatever.
I got married.
Thank you.
My husband's from Paris.
I know, amazing. You can send me some tips. I'm going to the Louvre on Saturday. I haven't been to the Louvre before. Thank you. I will.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Have fun.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Chat soon. Ciao.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.
See ya.
Thank you.